Good morning, students. Today we will discuss the chapter Microorganisms, Friend and Foe of class 8th. Since this chapter is a lengthy one, I have divided it into 3 parts, and these 3 parts will be taken in 3 different sessions. Let me tell you that this microorganism friend and foe in this chapter will read how the microorganisms are helpful to us, that is friend, and how they are harmful to us, that is foe. In this session we'll discuss what are microorganisms, then different types of microorganisms, different groups of microorganisms, that is bacteria, algae, protozoa, fungi, and there is another group of microorganism which is completely different from the other group of microorganism, that is viruses. Then we'll discuss where do the microorganisms live. Then we'll come to the microorganisms, how they are related to us. That means their harmfulness and their usefulness. So under this we'll discuss some of the friendly microorganisms. That means some of the usefulness of microorganisms, especially how they are helpful in making of curd and making of bread, and then we'll discuss few activities. Now let me first tell you what are microorganisms. Micro means very small, an organism. So these microorganisms are the living organisms which are very small and they cannot be seen by the naked eye. They can be seen only under microscope. And generally these microorganisms are single celled. But some of the microorganisms are multicellular. That means made up of many cells also. Okay. The microorganisms are also called microbes. Now you can ask me that if they are living organisms, we are not able to see them, then how can we know that they are present in our surrounding? So here I will tell you, you might have seen the grey patches on the spoiled bread. And if you take a small portion of the grey patches and see it under microscope, you will see a number of black particles, black structures. So these black structures are nothing but the microorganisms. Okay. Now, the classification of the microorganisms. The microorganisms are classified into 4 major groups. They are bacteria, fungi, protozoa, and some algae. So, why I have written here some algae? Because some algae are microscopic, very small, but there are some algae which are very large. They can be seen by naked eye even. Okay. Here you can see some of the bacteria. The first one that seems pink color is the spiral bacteria, spiral shaped bacteria, and the other one which is slightly bluish in color, are the rod-shaped bacteria. So this is the picture under microscope. Okay. Then here you can see some algae. Your Chlamydomonas, the first one is Chlamydomonas, which is having a green patch with a brown spherical structure, that is Chlamydomonas, and the other one is your elongated one, that is Spirogyra. And I hope all of you have seen the algae. The individual algae may not be seen under microscope, but when they are present together, I mean present in a group, they are visible in naked eye. You might have seen some green thread-like structures in the pond. These are nothing but your Spirogyra. Okay, so this is one of the algae. The next here, some protozoa. That is, here I have shown you the picture of amoeba and paramecium. Amoeba, you have already studied about the structure of amoeba, how it is always changing its shape, and the other one is your paramecium. Next is your fungi. So here are some fungi. The first one is your bread mold. This bread mold, I was talking about the grey patches. Actually, those grey patches are containing this bread mold. Okay. Then next one is your penicillium. And the third one is your aspergillus. Now come to another group of microorganisms, that is viruses. And these viruses are not categorized along with other microorganisms because the viruses are totally different from other groups of microorganisms. No doubt the viruses are very small in size, they are microscopic, they can be visible under microscope only. They are even smaller than the other group of microorganisms. But what is the difference between those microorganisms and the viruses? The viruses are simply inactive or dead particles when they are present outside the living body, like when they are present in the air, when they are present on any surface. Okay, but as soon as they enter into the living body, they start reproducing, they start multiplying, they increase their number. That means they become active and they act like living. Okay, so the viruses are both living and non-living. They are non-living outside the body, but when they enter into the living body, they are living. That's why the viruses are grouped under another group. They are called viruses. Now, these viruses can live inside the bacterium, plant or animal body. The bacterium, the viruses which will enter into the bacterium, which can live inside the bacterium, can never live inside the plant or animal cell. Similarly, those viruses which can live or reproduce inside the plant or animal cell cannot live inside or reproduce inside the bacterial cell. Those viruses which live or reproduce inside the bacterium are called bacterial viruses. Those viruses which live and reproduce inside the plant are called plant viruses. And those viruses which live inside the animal, they are called animal viruses. So here in the picture you can see the structure of a virus. Even though the virus is very small, under microscope, how complex is this structure, the viruses. And here I have given the picture of virus that is given in your NCERT textbook. So here two types of bacterial structure, viral structures are there. One is elongated and one is almost spherical. Now our next topic is, where do microorganisms live? So if you remember, I have already told you that they can live anywhere. They can live in water, they can live in air, they can live on dry surface, they can live on our body, inside our body, they can live inside the body of any other organism also. Okay. The microorganisms may be single cell. Usually they are single cell. They are made up of only one cell. Or they may be made up of many cells. So those microorganisms which are made up of a single cell are your bacteria, protozoa and some algae. But there are certain microorganisms, as I have already told you, they are multicellular, that means made up of many cells, that includes some other algae and fungi. Okay, and they can survive in extreme conditions like ice cold climate, hot springs, deserts and also in marshy lands. They are also found inside the body of other organisms, including our body, that is human body. Some microorganisms depend on other living organisms for their growth. But there are certain microorganisms which are free living. That means they never depend on other organism for their growth. Okay, like see your malaria causing organism, microorganism. The commonly it is known as your plasmodium. The plasmodium cannot live outside for its growth, for its reproduction. It depends upon the human body and the mosquito body, female Anopheles mosquito body. So these organisms are depending on the other living organism. But the diagram which I have shown you, Spirogyra, Chlamydomonas, the algae, they don't depend upon the other living organism for their growth. Okay. Another thing is that the microorganism can live alone or they may form colony. Alone means single, they can live, okay? But what is colonies? Colonies means they always live in group. They will never live alone. As I was talking about the Spirogyra, how it is visible? Why it is visible as a thread? Because a number of Spirogyra are present in the form of a filament, and that's why we are able to see it in naked eyes. But if we will try to see a single cell of Spirogyra, then we have to take the help of microscope. Okay? Then here the most important part, that is how the microorganisms are very important in our life and how they are related to us. The microorganisms are both harmful or beneficial, that is as well as useful and harmful. Okay, so how they're beneficial, that we'll discuss in the session 1 only, found some of the beneficial microorganisms. And most of the harmful microorganisms cause disease in our body. So let us first discuss about the friendly microorganisms. That means your useful microorganisms. So first let me enumerate the microorganisms which are used for various purposes. Some microorganisms are used in the production of curd, bread and cake. Some microorganisms are used for the preparation of alcohol, beverages, different drinks. The microorganisms are also helpful in cleaning our environment. So how they are cleaning our environment? See, we are disposing the waste material in the environment. But if this waste material will remain in the environment, then our environment will get dirty or get polluted. But due to the presence of these microorganisms, these waste materials are decomposed. That means they are broken down into harmless and usable substances. And especially the bacteria are doing these functions. And besides this, the microorganisms are very useful in the field of agriculture. So how they are useful? They are useful in increasing the soil fertility by fixing the nitrogen. In class 7th, you have studied about the rhizobium bacterium. And these rhizobium are present in the root nodules of legume plants, and how they fix the atmospheric nitrogen and they make it available to the plant. So this way the microorganisms are helpful to us. So here only in this session we will only discuss the making of curd and making of bread. The first your making of curd. Here you can see that in a bowl the curd is there, and if you take a small amount of this curd and see it under microscope, you can see a large number of microorganisms, and these microorganisms are your lactobacillus bacteria. It is a group of it is a type of bacteria. So this lactobacillus helps in converting the milk into curd. Okay, at your home you might have observed that your mother is taking little bit amount of curd in a spoon and then adding it in the milk and mixing it in the milk, and after some time 3 or 4 hours you will see that the whole milk has been converted into curd. How it is possible? Because the little amount of curd that is added by your mother into the milk was containing large amount of lactobacillus bacteria, and that lactobacillus bacteria when added into the milk, it multiplied, it increased its number, and gradually the whole milk is converted into curd. So in this way the microorganism, that is especially your bacteria lactobacillus, is helpful in making the curd. Besides this, The other milk product like cheese is also prepared with the help of bacteria. Then pickles and other food items are also prepared with the help of microorganisms. And you know that the curd, how it is important for our body, and this curd contains vitamin B12, that is very very essential for the digestion of our food, digestive system. Okay. And how we are taking curd for your rava, idli and bhatura. So in these all these things, one of the ingredient is your curd. The next, how the microorganisms are helpful in making the bread. You all have seen that the bread is very spongy, puffy structure. Okay. And this spongy nature of the bread is due to the yeast. Yeast is a fungi. It is another group of microorganism, as I have already told you. So this yeast, when we prepare the dough for the bread, in the dough, the yeast are added artificially, or if you keep it for some time, then automatically yeast will grow in it. And after some time, the dough becomes puffy. It will swell. The volume of the dough will increase. So this is due to the growth of the yeast. Then if the yeast will grow, then why that dough will be puffy? Because the yeast reproduces very rapidly and it produces carbon dioxide during its respiration, because it is living organism, so it will respire. So when it respires, it releases carbon dioxide, and that carbon dioxide bubbles fills the dough and increase its volume. Okay. So this is why we use yeast in the baking industry for making the cakes, pastries and bread. So here the activity 3 that is given in your textbook. So here how the dough is puffy, how dough become puffy, that is shown here. So here we have taken half kg flour, atta or maida, and some sugar is added, and warm water is mixed. Okay, it is completely mixed. All the three things are completely mixed. And why we are using warm water? Because the reproduction of the yeast, it should not be hot water. Okay, the yeast will grow rapidly in warm water. Now then we have added a little amount of yeast powder, and then soft dough is prepared. Okay. Now what do we observe after some time? The yeast reproduces, as I have already told you, they reproduce very rapidly, produce carbon dioxide during respiration, and the bubbles of the gas fill the dough and it increases its volume. Okay. And this is the basis of use of yeast in the baking industry for making breads and pastries and cakes. So children, I hope this session is quite clear to you, and in the next session we'll discuss the next part or other useful things of the microorganism in our life, as well as for the environment, for the other living organisms. Okay, thank you.